over the weekend, activists protesting against the Supreme Court's expected ruling that will gut Roe v. Wade gathered outside the homes of two different conservative justices and are actually planning to do more protests. Now, over the weekend, close to 100 peaceful protesters chanted and waved signs on Saturday outside the Maryland house of Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Brett Kavanaugh, of course, who loves beer, he likes to drink beer, and he did not sexually assault Christine Blasey Ford. No, that's according to him. Now, they also then marched to the nearby home of Chief Justice John Roberts. The group that, of course, is behind these protests is called Ruth Sent Us, basically a reference to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who, of course, was massively in favor of Roe v. Wade and protecting reproductive rights, along with the rest of the court's liberals. All right, so now that group has been organizing protests at the homes of the 6 conservative justices, the 3 in Virginia and 3 in Maryland. In fact, you have protest organizer Lacey Wooten Holway telling Bloomberg over the weekend, "The time for civility is over, man. Being polite doesn't get you anywhere." I love it. Because, look, it's true. What is writing a strongly worded, polite letter going to do to protect your rights? It's not. It's not going to do a goddamn thing. All right, so now, that said, you have some elitists that are very, very suddenly concerned about safety. Oh, it all has to do with safety. For example, you have Iraq War ghoul Bill Kristol, not to be confused with Billy Crystal. Now, Crystal says this. Here's what he tweeted. "Please don't protest at people's homes. Please don't intrude on people attending their houses of worship. Organize politically. Be civil, civically." So basically, quiet. Don't be rude. Don't show. By the way, and here's the thing, right? So these conservative court justices, they are public figures. They are public figures. And so knowing where they live is kind of like knowing where a celebrity lives, right? It's public knowledge. And of course, they're wealthy enough to have security measures in place because, again, nobody wants to do violence against them. I'm certainly not in favor of doing violence, but if you want to protest in the street, well, then protest in the street right in front of their house. That's fine. And by the way, that protest, in case you're asking, but what about the neighbors? Aren't the neighbors going to be upset? The neighbors in this case literally helped organize this protest. Even your neighbors hate you, or at least hate your decision. And so this is important. So that's Bill Kristol. Again, he's going to be one of the very many members of the Civility Brigade that you're hearing already. Fox News, they're all over it, saying, "Oh my God, can you believe it? They're actually protesting outside the houses of the elites. They're actually getting into our gated neighborhoods and protesting for their own civil rights. How dare they, this uncouth mob?" In fact, Ted Cruz goes nuclear. Here's what he tweeted. "This is sick. The Biden White House is openly urging rioters to target the justices' homes and threaten their families. Radical Dems want to burn it all down, and they are happy to employ violence against anyone who doesn't comply." Oh, really? Violence? Violence? Are you kidding me? Violent? You're going to talk about violence? Now, look, I am going to talk about, because I'm fair on this show, there was one instance of violence against an anti-abortion group. And of course, we look at that and we say, don't do that. That was a Molotov, I believe it was a Molotov cocktail at a Wisconsin anti-abortion group. Now, again, I discourage that. I don't think that's the way that you need to go. But again, when we're talking about the right wing calling out violence, they seem to always forget that the majority of the violence tends to be from their own side. Again, you want to talk about, and I've got the numbers on how many abortion providers, and by the way, they're not these places that provide abortions. This is one of the many different services they do for women. Aside from reproductive health, you have screenings, cancer screenings, birth control, just monthly, checkups or womanly checkups. You have all that different stuff that they do. But no, they single them out and they say, well, you do abortions, and so therefore we're going to stand outside and we're going to, verbally, berate people that are going inside. Sometimes they're going to force their way inside. Sometimes we're going to do actual violence. And yes, we're also going to throw Molotovs. We're going to do bomb threats. That's all coming from the right wing. But no, it's the radical Democrats that want to burn it down. Oh, yes. So says Ted Cruz. All right, there's more. Lee Zeldin, a Republican representative in Congress's New York 1st Congressional District, here's what they said. Quote, does anyone in the Biden administration have the courage and decency to speak out in defense of the physical safety of our 9 Supreme Court justices? The doxing and intimidation campaign targeting these justices is illegal. Protest is illegal? Weird. Really? Weird? That's very strange. I didn't know that there was a law against that. Oh, you know what? In the case of Alito, hey, if it's not in the Constitution, buddy boy, then, if it's not explicitly laid out that you can't, protest outside of Alito's home, then I guess you should be able to protest outside of Alito's home. Or suddenly, maybe that's, maybe it doesn't have to be in the Constitution for it to be illegal. I don't know. All right, more. He says, by the way, I'm going to show you a video here that Ted Cruz and Zeldin are referencing. This is Jen Psaki. Let me read the rest of the quote, and we'll get to that. He said, the doxing and intimidation campaign targeting the justice is illegal, and Jen Psaki just used her platform to greenlight it. So, it's Jen Psaki. She's calling for violence. She's calling to attack people. All right, well, let me show you the video where she allegedly tells these people to go riot. Take a look.
These activists posted a map with the home addresses of the Supreme Court justices. Is that the kind of thing this president wants to help your side make their point?
Look, I think the president's view is that there's a lot of passion, a lot of fear, a lot of sadness from many, many people across this country about what they saw in that leaked document. We obviously want people's privacy to be respected. We want people to protest peacefully if they want to protest. That is certainly what the president's view would be.
Where was the call for violence? Where was her saying, oh, you definitely need to go and riot in front of their houses. You go after them. Get them. I don't see any of that from Jen Psaki. Of course, look, this is Ted Cruz. So obviously, he doesn't expect anybody to actually watch the video. Doesn't expect anybody to actually know what she actually said. No, of course not. Come on. And by the way, here's what she also tweeted afterwards. She said, POTUS strongly believes in the constitutional right to protest, but that should never include violence, threats, or vandalism. Judges perform an incredibly important function in our society, and thus they must be able to do their jobs without concern for their personal safety. Now, does that sound like Jen Psaki telling people to burn it down and employ violence? No! This is classic bullshit straw man. And they keep setting up this straw man in order to cover for what they're actually doing, which is taking rights away from people, human beings. In fact, the organization Ruth sent us also tweeted this. They said, Justice Alito thinks they can take away our rights, but our rights are fundamentally ours. We are showing up to tell them in person. There was also a message on the website, quote, if you'd like to join or lead a peaceful protest, let us know. How weird. They keep saying this word peaceful, and yet the right wing says they're all violent mobs of people. Very strange. Oh, but there's more reaction. Tom Fritton, president of Judicial Watch, this is a right-wing group, said, the Biden White House seems to be condoning dangerous and unprecedented intimidation and crimes targeting the Supreme Court Justice of the United States. Where? Where's the Biden White House doing this? They're not. They're just not. It's complete patent bullshit. All right, there's more. Jeremy Boring, co-founder of the Daily Wire, here's what he tweeted. Don't protest at private homes. I cannot think of a single exception. Peter Savadnik, writer for Vanity Fair, adds, the reason you don't protest in front of any official's house is it is a form of proto-violence, a thinly veiled threat that is inherently anti-democratic. Yes, that's right. That's right. People coming out to voice their displeasure towards government officials is anti-democratic. That's literally what our government is based on, a redress of our grievances. Well, you know what? You got millions of people out there that got some goddamn grievances, and they need to be redressed. My God. By the way, Savadnik also adds this. If you are horrified by January 6th, you should be a little horrified by the Kavanaugh protests, which are but a half step from breaking down his front door. And? So, for one, no verification on they're going to break down his front door. They're half a step. Hey, you know what? If they actually did break down his front door, then maybe you'd be like, hey, whoa. You might want to back up here. All right, just a minute. And we're not looking to tar and feather the guy, which actually used to be a thing that people would do. They don't do that anymore. I don't know. I'm not saying it should make a comeback. But I'm not saying that. You know what? I'm just not going to say anything. Let's talk about that. But look, let's talk about proto-violence, right? Oh, it's not violence. It's proto-violence. It's pre-violence. Are you going to really go down that route? Are you like the civility police? Because that's what this is looking like. You got liberals out there that are like, no, you don't understand. We need civility. We need to bring civility back. Motherfuckers trying to take people's rights, to strip them of reproductive control over their own bodies. You need to talk about civility. Where's the civility in that? Where's the civility, huh? No, this is stupid. This is concern trolling is what this is. That's it. And by the way, January 6th, that's actual violence. There was actual violence against people, against police. And by the way, credible threats of violence. They were going through the halls with handcuffs, shouting, "Hang Mike Pence." Not civility. There was no civility there. And by the way, I mentioned earlier, violence against clinics that offer abortion and reproductive health. You know that between 1994 and 2016, extremists killed 11 workers at these clinics and attempted to kill 26 more. From 1997 to 2016, there were 7,200 reported acts of violence, 42 bombings, 185 arson attacks, thousands of death threats, and in 2020, assault against providers increased 125% compared to 2019. Remember Dr. Tiller? As Bill O'Reilly would call Dr. Tiller the baby killer, right? You want to talk about that, right? That's weird. He could go out on TV and just say that, Dr. Tiller, baby killer, Dr. Tiller, baby killer. And then was acting completely shocked and chagrined. I can't believe somebody would have murdered him. I can't believe somebody would have, taken that so seriously as to murder them. You're kidding, right? And now, did anybody ever accuse Bill O'Reilly of fomenting violence or even proto-violence? Not on the right. And again, it seems like the establishment press is so concerned about civility, and by the way, protecting already powerful people from just protest, the First Amendment right of protest, that they're just completely ignoring all the other times that right-wingers have not only, done stochastic terrorism, right, and egged people on to do attacks, but also there are constant calls for violence against other people. Look, here's the thing. I mentioned there was an arson attempt on a Wisconsin anti-choice office. And again, I'm not in favor of that. But other than that, these have been peaceful, the protests. And as long as it stays peaceful, totally fine. Nonetheless, the right-wingers are still going to go after it and claim that, no, this is violence and this is intimidation. How dare they? No, you know what? The majority of the public in the United States wants to preserve choice and to keep the government from getting between a person with a uterus and their doctor. And yet here we have a small minority of unelected justices that represent a fringe view that are working to destroy established precedent and allow millions of people to be stripped from their rights. That's the real problem. That's beyond civility. And the fact that so many in the media are running interference, so many Democratic politicians as well, that are crapping on the protests when they themselves could have actually done something, it's indicative of a problem. The elite stick together. The wealthy politicians and the news actors are never going to be affected by laws that are restricting abortion, that are restricting reproductive rights. Why? They're wealthy. They could just fly somewhere else. They can fly to get an abortion. Another state, or they probably live in a state which is going to allow abortion regardless. But when it comes to people in poverty, women, trans men, non-binary, intersex, anybody with a functioning uterus that has the ability to get pregnant, that do not have the means to escape these red states that are cracking down, well, they're going to be affected. And damn right they're angry. And by the way, remember that protest is the purest form of democracy. It's just a peaceful voicing their opinion. But it turns out that in this day and age, well, that gets the elites very, very uncomfortable. Well, that's the point. Make them uncomfortable.